anytime you want to bring us in.
I'll take my sweet time. Thank you. All right. Folks, welcome back to another episode of Studio Spaces. This week, we're joined by the entire Studio 4-8. We have, of course, Todd Waller.
Hello.
Sarah Maddock. And Jeffrey Post.
Hey, everybody. Nice to be with you.
This is the first time that we've been able to have the entire studio here together. And this is what quarantine has done for us. It's not the best situation, but it's what we're working with, and we're able to bring everybody together. So, you win some, you lose some.
You do win some, you do lose some. There are silver linings in being quarantined or having a stay-at-home order in place here. One of them is you get to do things like this, working with video conferencing and being able to hang out with your business partners and agent friends socially and professionally, and just hang out for a little bit and get to hear what's going on in one another's lives. So we come to you today with Studio Spaces, hoping that you and yours are healthy and safe. And we want to start everything off too by saying, hey, if you're watching this and you're in Southeast Michigan and need some assistance, maybe getting some groceries or running some errands, please reach out. Please let us know how we might be of assistance to help you with that. We are healthy. We do have the ability to run around and get some of those things. So please don't hesitate to reach out to us, and we'll figure out what we can do to make that happen for you. Today, however, with Sarah and Jeffrey on board, we did want to talk about a couple of items. The first topic that we have here that we want to chat with you about was forbearance. Now, Jeffrey, you had just pulled up a great definition or series of definitions about forbearance. It's been in the news recently. The federal government has said, hey, you can ask for forbearance when it comes to your mortgage. What does that mean exactly?
Well, I'll give you the noun and the law definition, because it's not something that people just kick around as a term every now and again.
Yep.
The noun under forbearance says patient self-control, restraint, and tolerance, which one could say during this quarantine time is something good to have around a plate of cookies. Patient self-control, restraint, and tolerance. However, that's not what
the entire quarantine. That's the definition of what I've needed is forbearance.
In the actual law term, and this is not getting into, Todd will give us the financial term, but the law term, the action of restraining from exercising a legal right, especially enforcing the payment of a debt.
Yeah. And so, as Jeffrey alluded to there is a term, a definition specific to mortgages when it comes to forbearance. And I'm reading off of Investopedia here, and we'll share the link here in the comments or the description here for you too. But forbearance, according to Investopedia, is a temporary postponement of mortgage payments. It is a form of repayment relief granted by the lender or creditor in lieu of forcing a property into foreclosure. Loan owners and loan insurers may be willing to negotiate forbearance options because the losses generated by property foreclosure typically fall on them. So let's break that. Yeah, what was that?
Keyword, temporary.
And Sarah's absolutely right. The key word there is temporary. So Sarah, what happens, right? So a homeowner right now who has a mortgage on their property says, I can't make this month's mortgage payment. I'm more concerned about being able to pay bills and like get groceries and keep the utilities on. What does that mean if someone says, I'm going to ask my lender for forbearance for the next couple of months?
Well, it would mean that you are talking to usually the loss mitigation department of your lender, and that is not always going to be just the 1-800 number on the mortgage document, but it's saying I need a couple extra months. But basically what happens.
Oh, Sarah, I think we lost you.
Oh no. The internet connection has gotten in our way.
As it inevitably does.
Month 2 or 3.
Hey, she's back.
Oh, did I get stumbled?
Sorry, the internet froze on you there. I'm sorry.
Uh-oh, I don't know where you lost me, but anyhow, It basically means that you might get a stall in your payment, but it doesn't mean it's going to go away. They're not forgiving an entire month or two's worth of payments. They're just adding it on and amortizing it, or possibly on month 2 or 3, the entire thing will come due. So not sure how that's going to help the majority of homeowners who have a loan on their property. I don't think it's what they think it is always.
Yeah, and Sarah, to that point, one of the reasons I thought forbearance was a huge topic for us to talk here on Studio Spaces was I'm hearing a lot of folks talk about the federal government who has said, hey, ask your mortgage company for forbearance in this era of, $1 trillion bailouts and all that fun stuff. Talking with some of my lender friends, they're losing their minds with folks that are refinancing mortgages right now or actually going to a closing table on the purchase of a property, where as the folks are going to the closing table, they are asking for information on how to get forbearance on that new mortgage that they are just about ready to sign on. And the hiccup here is it would turn into a cascade if too many people pulled the trigger on forbearance. Now, please hear, there are, I'm sure, certain circumstances where forbearance right now makes sense for folks. I don't believe, however, that makes sense for the majority of folks that are out there. The scenario is you've got a $1,500 a month mortgage payment. You ask for 2 months worth of forbearance. So that's a $3,000 pause that you've asked the mortgage company for. On month number 3, not only is your 3rd month mortgage due, but so is that $3,000 forbearance, most likely. I mean, it could be tacked on to the end of the amortization schedule too, but more often than not, when folks are asking for forbearance, that's the scenario that mortgage companies are saying, yeah, we'll give you 2 months. You don't have to do anything. But on the 3rd month, those 2 months worth of payment plus that 3rd month's mortgage are also due. So a $1,500 a month mortgage payment turns into a $4,500 bill that's due on that 3rd month. And I don't know that message is getting through to a lot of folks about forbearance.
And
Well,
Todd,
yeah, go ahead.
Wouldn't it also be safe to say that obviously questions like these are going to be lender specific, and they will also be loan specific? By that I mean certain local lenders might do portfolio loans where they're keeping the terms and the process of it in-house.
Yep.
And that might change some of the circumstance of forbearance as opposed to a national lender, who's selling obviously on the secondary market, or, it's being sold more than one time. And they're going to be beholden to the guidelines and protocols of a lot of other lenders.
Absolutely, Jeffrey. I mean, hitting it right out of the park. These are questions that are perfect for your specific lender to be answering. Because the product and the bank, the loan originator, may have different things in place. Simply here was, hey, let's make sure that folks hear that forbearance isn't, hey, I don't have to pay it anymore. There are some issues potentially with forbearance if that trigger is pulled now.
Yeah.
I would also say it's startling to me that you're hearing stories about buyers asking this basically at the closing table, because even in normal times, a lender is going to verify employment, continued employment. They'll want to have seen past employment of at least 2 years in any given field. And they often will call your HR department or your boss and just make sure you are employed, even right up to the date of closing.
Yep.
And lenders representatives who are at a closing, or even just talking with their mortgage clients, are supposed to alert the bank, the lending institution, if there is an issue that comes up at the last minute that could suddenly make that buyer be unmortgageable. So it would not be in anybody's best interest, I would think, to be asking that question leading up to closing. Hey, you're about to give me a $300,000 loan, but I might have trouble paying it in the first few months. That is not the message that you want to send to your lender. And if that's the case, it might be best to rethink the purchase altogether, or at least be very open and honest with your lender.
And Sarah, I think that leads to one of the points, though, of why I wanted to cover this particular topic. Is I think that's a case. A case can be made for that maybe the the buyer isn't as financially sound as perhaps the loan officer was led to believe or had ferreted out. But I think another possibility here is people hear the term and hear roughly what's associated with it and think, well, wait a minute, if the government's saying I don't have to pay my loan for the next 2 or 3 months, I'm up for that. I can put some cash in my pocket, keep it now, maybe invest it somewhere else. And then at the end, I'll start making my mortgage payments again, not realizing that the full bill potentially is due at the end of that forbearance period.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Important.
Yeah, it is. It is. So important stuff for us to hang on to and get out there and talk about. Dan, we've got a second topic here for the studio spaces here on this beautiful Wednesday, April 8th. What was that second topic again?
The second topic is what we're doing for our clients and for prospective clients as we're looking to the end of this stay-at-home order. This is not the future. We don't know when it's going to end, but it will. And we're taking steps to prepare ourselves for that eventuality.
Yep. Now, Sarah, you had a neat email that you circulated amongst Studio 48 here. Walk us through what it is that you put out there, and then let's start talking about what it is that Studio 48's been working on to be prepared, and not just ourselves, but our clients get prepared for when the stay-at-home order is lifted.
Yeah, and to be very specific, I have a client who is working on, they were getting ready to list their house, and they were doing a few last minute repairs and sprucing up. I had walked with them through the house prior to the quarantine to talk about some things to do to get ready for the home. And of course, all of this hit, and we made the, I think, smart decision to wait to list the property until we know that it can be shown and sold in a more normalized market. And I know that that homeowner has been working tirelessly this entire quarantine, every day, painting, doing trim, cleaning, decluttering, doing all of these things and more to get ready. And it was important to me and to let him know that we too, as a group, are working hard. We're not just sitting around doing this. Oh, this is fun and I love this opportunity, but we're also taking the time to learn new skills and interview new people, new vendors that can help us with the business, and sprucing up some of our marketing graphics so that when that client and our other clients, buyers and sellers, are ready to go, we also have just a refreshed new energy that we can bring to the table for our clients. It's funny to me because a lot of agents in our area and elsewhere are talking about how they're bringing video to their listings, and frankly, that's something that we've, as a group, have been doing for literally years, and that's great. I'm glad that people are doing that, but we want to do even more. Even more sort of new marketing techniques and styles that we want to add to our portfolio for clients. So right now we are doing things like updating our contact list of agents. Not just agents within our group or our office, but literally all over the country, many of whom we just met at the recent national convention, and just cultivating and curating and perfecting those lists of agents that we can use to network our properties with, and really getting specific details about, okay, these agents are the ones that work in this luxury market price range. These agents are ones who have a lot of expertise in, say, horse farms. I mean, any kind of category, we're trying to develop and perfect these networks that we can use to agents and of people in our sphere of influence that we can use to market to. So that's one thing that we've been spending hours of time on, and I think is really going to benefit our buyers and sellers when it's time to reach out to other agents in the public to find properties for our buyers or to find buyers for our sellers. So that's one example. I think you guys have other examples too.
Yep. Jeffrey?
Yeah, well, absolutely. And this is all the points that Sarah was making are current to what the studio is doing and doing robustly, because we have time to be able to do this. And I'll emphasize the point on networking. In the absence of physically being able to get in and out of any properties, our networking and our sphere, which does include the other agents in our community and the agents that we work with. We also know that a lot of these agents specialize or like to specialize in certain areas. And so if we have properties coming on in that area, selling property is storytelling. And we can get on the phone with those agents and we can tell a great story about this property that will be on the market soon. It's not currently on the market. And then hopefully, if we're doing our job well enough, they're going to story tell that to their buyers and get their buyers excited. It's kind of, it's all a little bit of preview of coming attractions. And, you can do that verbally, but now that we're all becoming masters of our Zoom domain, we're going to be really, really good at this once this is all over. I want to also add, I did a quick social media video this morning. We're all taking walks. Some of us, many walks. But I was encouraging sellers that we will work with that while they're out taking a walk, be observant of the homes that are around them. Curb appeal is a real thing. And we all know we can walk down the street, we can notice a house, and there's something about it and some reason why we notice that house. It may be that the garden is so well tended. It may be that the windows are super clean. It may be that the front door has a pop of color that really makes it appealing. And this is a great time when you have a lot of time as a seller to be around your house to reflect on that. Take pictures when you're out walking around of what is it about that house that really catches your attention, and then go back to your house and take a look at that and spend some of the time prepping it. I know one thing a lot of people at this point in time in spring maybe don't realize or don't think about, but next time you're out for your daily walk, take a look at homes that have screens on their windows and look at how much the effect of a screen can mat a window area versus a bright, shiny, clean glass window. I know we put the screens on in the summer and the spring to get the fresh air, but maybe hold off on that and get the visuals with the screens off.
Boy, Jeffrey, I love that statement. I usually recommend that for photos being taken on the inside of the house because you get more streaming light in there, regardless of the time of year. If you pull those screens off, you get about 20 to 30% more light inside the house. I never thought about the exterior of the home when you remove those screens as well. That's a great point for right now.
And you can see it just walking by. I did this morning where it was a big picture window, and it must be the centerpiece is the window that opens, and it had a screen on it. And the other looked shiny and clean and everything. And there was this gray mat over the one. Yeah. Makes a difference.
That's a great point. That is a great point. One of the things that I like about this time, and it's weird to say that, right? Something I like about being quarantined or told to stay at home, or that I'm non-vital. One of the things that I appreciate about this is the time to slow down. But I also appreciate the time to reconnect or connect further or more deeply with past clients, and future clients. It has been, when we talk about preparing for the market, it has been great to be able to reconnect with folks that I've worked with in the past, but current clients and future clients being able to say, here's what we know, here's where we're at. How can we assist you at this point in time? So like conversations with buyers, we can't go show homes right now. We physically cannot go out and show homes. And even if we could, sellers might be really nervous about letting the public into their house if the home is not vacant. But buyers can be very well prepared. Number one, they can start talking with their lender and figuring out what it is that they can make happen. What's their price limit, so to speak. If they're a cash buyer, great. Just make sure you got your docs all in place. But the big part is, here's what's currently on the market. We know there wasn't a lot of inventory before the stay-at-home orders hit. There's less inventory on the market now. But how much further ahead of the curve are our buyers going to be when they're looking now? What else are they going to do, right? They've got time on their hands. They're looking at the inventory that's currently on the market. so that when Governor Whitmer releases the stay-at-home order and pulls that ban out, we'll be able to hit the market like gangbusters. They'll have the financing all squared away, and we'll already know that all of these properties, we don't want to see those. These are the ones that have been on that we still want to see. And now the focus becomes all the new stuff, all the new inventory that comes to market that matches buyers' criteria. It's a great place to be prepared. I love it.
That comes back in a little bit what we talked about, I think, our first quarantine show, where buyers step back, sellers step back. But what this has caused, incredible increase in the internet, just across the board. I think variety percent as the stay-at-home orders came into effect. And that's what I've seen. You know, I like to play with the data. And so looking at the number of hits that properties are getting, it's gone up as people have been trapped at home. And so this is a decent time to be digitally marketing a home if you have those resources and those materials ready to go. I'm not going to encourage anybody to go out and risk their life to put a home on the market. But if that's something that you have available to do, now's not a terrible time to do it for that reason. You're not going to get those in-person showings, but you will get impressions.
Yep. And I think too, maybe consensus is different, but I think here in the studio, we're kind of looking at that point in time when the stay-at-home order is lifted as an acceleration. I believe that we're going to see a market. It's going to take a deep breath, but I think it's going to take off shortly thereafter. And I think our sales meeting this morning, it was talked about that potentially we're going to have 12 months of sales inside of 9 months. I kind of feel that pent up demand there, and I certainly feel the supply. Talking with a number of folks that we have that are about to be coming to the market as soon as the stay-at-home orders are lifted. So who has been taking in any training seminars, so to speak? Like, how many of us are sick of sitting? Yeah.
Yeah.
I get to the end of the day and it feels like, holy smokes, I've spent 6 hours in front of this camera.
I was just saying, I've spent so many hours on Zoom between different calls, conferences, and meetings. I can justify the cost of a Zoom premium subscription more than Netflix or Hulu at this point. I'm watching maybe a movie a week, and I'm spending 6 hours a day on Zoom.
I hear that. Awesome. Well, I am delighted that Sarah and Jeffrey were able to join us today and come on to Studio Spaces. It's been too long that Dan and I have just been the figureheads running here on Studio Spaces. So there's a silver lining with stay at home, as it made it a little bit easier for us to coordinate calendars to get Sarah and Jeffrey on here. So for folks that have been watching since the word go with Dan and I here, no, the impetus has always been there to bring both all the partners onto Studio Spaces. This has never been a hey, it's just going to be the Dan and Todd show.
If it was, we would have called it that.
Oh my gosh, yes. And we wouldn't have anybody watching it. So going forward, the aim and the hope here with Studio Spaces is to highlight something on a weekly basis that's of interest to the real estate space around Ann Arbor and Southeast Michigan. And we want to rotate in partners, personalities, even vendors at some point in time. Would love to be able to do some interviews with folks that, as a studio, we thoroughly enjoy working with. We want to be able to highlight those folks that have taken great care of our clients in the past and that we kind of think highly of. So with that, thank you very much for hanging out with us at Studio Spaces here. This is Dan, Todd, Sarah, and Jeffrey with Studio 48 at Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, Snyder & Company, saying, be safe, stay home, and we'll see you on the other side.